my name is Morgan. I'm very prissy. I would never go camping.
It's time to meet the Muppets on the Muppet Show tonight.
Hello, sweet peas. I have like 36 hours, maybe a little bit more, like 48 hours, where Felix and our toddler and our best friend Hannah are all going camping. And I'm so glad people love to go camping. That's so exciting. Me, I feel like I'm sort of like an indoor person, you know? I'm kind of meant to be indoors. So it worked out as like a win-win because Felix gets to take the baby on this very exciting journey. And I am gonna sew the whole time. I'm so excited. We, together, me and you, are gonna do a 24-hour sewing challenge. Now, I'm not gonna stay awake for 24 hours. I am gonna take breaks to eat, sleep, all my favorite things, but I'm gonna have a timer going to kind of get it all added up to 24 hours. I cut out a few projects. If we get through those and I need to cut a few more, I'm not gonna include that in the timer because I want it to just be kind of construction based. Before we do that, two things. I need you to look at my outfit. I feel like it's really cute, which is surprising to me because it was very like, oh, I'll put this on and this on. Kind of like not a lot of effort put into it, okay? But I think it turned out really cute. Secondly, I went to an estate sale this morning and I looked online. I said, will there be an estate sale this Friday morning? And there was. And they had plenty of sewing things and I will be giving you a haul because I think it'll really bring us a lot of inspiration into this day. First, we just have some like kind of boring white fabric. It's a lot. I think it'll be great for making like mock-ups, my first run through of things. Also, white I feel like is good because you can always use it as like a lining, or Felix has been making these little like fabric dolls for our toddler friends. Always good to have white for that. I got this alphabet fabric. I think it'll be some really sick baby pants. It's a remnant for sure. So I don't know if there will be enough for baby pants. I'm hoping so. If not, there's definitely enough to do like a one leg fun print, one leg like maybe solid, which is always a crowd pleaser in my experience. I got Felix this like fleecy snail fabric. I don't know what they'll use it for. We're not using like a lot of fleece in the things that we make, but I think it'd be cute as the back of one of those fabric dolls, or it'd be really cute to make into like a teddy bear for like a newborn. Not our newborn. Hey, don't get it twisted, not for us, but like we know many people who are pregnant. A little bit of super heavy canvas. This is just kind of like hard to come by in my opinion in like real life. You can get it online easily if you really need it, but teeny tiny bit of sailboat fabric. I don't know if it's enough to make toddler shorts for my niece whose parents are really into sailing, but I think it'll be enough to at the very least do little like pockets on pants for her, which I think would be really cute. Got a couple of like little blocks that are clearly supposed to be, either this is supposed to make a book with no words, or maybe it's a quilt, but they had tons of them. And I'm thinking I can like put them on different outfits, or maybe like put them on baby pants, or put them at the bottom of my own quilt, you know. Not very exciting, but this is like vintage, super thick batting. 50-cent quilt book. This house was like so full of quilt books. Wait, some of them are already traced out. I'm so excited. That's really exciting. Then this is the most exciting part in my opinion. I got another seam ripper. You can't have too many. I honestly mostly got this for the container to help store my sewing label addiction, but it's filled to the brim with buttons. Speaking of buttons, I went button crazy. We've got some clear ones, some fun like blues. These I think would be really fun on like the lapel of a collar, just like decorative. I don't know, I think that'd be cute. Some pinkish ones. And then the most exciting in my opinion is bag full of flower buttons. Like so many super fun, super obnoxious flower buttons of many different sizes. Teeny little lace bear, which I think is really cute. I think I might add him to a pair of pants we're making today. Some stitch markers. I have none for when I start my knitting journey. Hook and loop fastener, great. You just, you know, and it was $1, like, you know. Then the entire reason I wanted to go, I have learned something about myself in my sewing journey this year, and it is that I freaking hate making bias tape. And don't comment and be like, oh, there's a quick little hack. There's different ways you can get a bias tape maker. I don't want to cut things into strips. I don't want to then sew the strips together. I also don't want to do that thing where you take a square and then you put lines on the square and then you off kilter it, and that's still too much for me. I don't want to do that when they make pre-made bias tape, especially vintage pre-made bias tape. And when I tell you, I said, I hope I find bias tape today, and I bought almost every single one that they had. Let me kind of separate them so you can see the options. So much of this like lavendery color, which I have a particular project in mind. Skinny green, and then orange, and then our blues. This blue in particular I've used on many projects. It is vintage Wright's bias tape. I love this color. I anytime I see it, I will always buy it. I've used every bit of Shelly's, which she also got from estate sales, because I love it so much. I'm starting a little bit later than I would have liked today because I had to do quite a bit of editing this morning. And right now, the super long decluttering video, which you will have already seen, is exporting, that I need to upload it. And then tonight before bed, I need to do the captions. So while all that is happening, I need to have a little snack, really make sure that I'm like ready to go to lock in. So I'm gonna have a quick snack and I'll come back and start our timer. I'm also gonna throw the stuff I just bought in the wash so that it's ready to go in case inspiration strikes with any of it. We've encountered our first problem, which is that I cut my waistband upside down, which wouldn't matter, except that I have little hearts, and like this is the way the waistband would sit, and the hearts would be upside down. So I think I'm just gonna put buttonholes on the other side, and then I'll just have secret buttonholes on the inside of my garment. Or, why don't I just sew it so the buttonholes are on the inside? And then I'll like have secret drawstring anyway. And then if I hate it, I can just have no drawstring, take it out, have buttonholes. Yeah, let's do that, because that's less work. Okay, I have pants-like structure. So, they're pants. I am about to put the drawstring in. I did have so much issue with my elastic. I don't know what I did the first time. I never measure it in like numbers, like in inches. I always just like wrap the elastic around me, and I'm like, that feels good, and then I cut it and I sew it, and I haven't had an issue till right now where I put them on and they fell off. And so I don't know what I did. But anyway, so I had to open up the seam a few times to cut more and more elastic out. I also might have to go to Michael's tomorrow to get more thick elastic. Drawstring, and then I think just hemming them, and then we'll be done with these. We are 2 hours and 40 something minutes in. So these came together, they were coming together so quick at the beginning, and then I had a lot of issues in the last like 40 minutes. So I don't know what we're making next, but if we're making another pair of lane pants next, that'll be interesting. Okay, they are done. I would love to show them to you.
I made this pair of pants by hand, and I believe that it is time for us to dance.
We are 4 hours, 10 minutes in. The lane pants are done. I had just a couple of issues with well, I did the buttonholes upside down, you guys saw that. And then I had a little trouble with the elastic waistband. Just can't measure, I guess. And then I wouldn't call this an issue, but I just like, not to brag, but I'm just like so short and teeny tiny that I forget. I don't know how I forget every single time, but I need to take off like a full like 4 inches off of the pattern in order to hem them like a normal amount, because I cut off 3 inches. And then my plan, well, what the pattern calls for is to fold it up 1/2 inch and then 3 inches. My plan was to fold it up 1 inch and then 2 inches. And I ended up having to fold it up a full like 1.5 inches and then another full 3.25 inches. But they turned out great. I love, God, these pants are so easy to make. They're so comfortable. I'm so glad I have another pair of them. I plan to make another pair tomorrow. I do kind of wish they were like the slightest bit less wide. It's hard though, because I like how much room I have in them. I just feel like when I look at them, I wish they were just like ever so slightly less wide. But I am too scared to make that alteration myself. So I won't. I don't think they look bad the way that they are. It's just that when I look at them sometimes, it's like I feel like they look less wide in my head is what it is. But it is 8 o'clock right now. The sun's still out a little bit. The sun is setting. I have to do the captions tonight for a video that goes live tomorrow. But I also need to cut more projects to work on tomorrow. And I'm not including that in my time. So I think I'm gonna get out Mimi's projector right now. It's 2 new patterns. Cut those out, cut out my fabric, and then go finish work downstairs. And then go to sleep, rest. So excited. Hopefully I sleep all night. We'll see. I think actually what'll happen is I'll wake up every like 2 hours and be like, where's the baby? Where's my husband? So it'll be good though. I believe in us. Good morning, it's 8:30 a.m. Here's what happened without you last night. So I finished uploading the video, it's out now, that, had to do a little bit of work. I also have to take a break later today to edit some short form. I don't want to because I want to keep doing this, but alas, my life is so hard. I'm obviously joking. And then I'm telling you that I'm joking because I know there's a literary crisis. So after I was done filming, I was going to cut out 2 more projects, both of which I did not have the pattern to yet, but I had bought the pattern. So the first is the Sunnyside Take by Matchy Matchy Sewing Club. Shelly's not here because, like I said, everyone's out of town. So I was like, how do I use your projector? She was like, oh my God, it's super easy. Setting up the actual projector, she's definitely more experienced at it as far as like getting the balancing right, but I eventually there's like a little grid that pops up and you want it to match your cutting table grid so that everything's like the right size and like an inch is an inch and so on. Got that done. Pull up the Sunnyside tank and pull up the projector file, and it's so small. And it also is showing like all of the sizes, and maybe that's normal and I'm just spoiled by like the Sydney Graham patterns where you can like click what size you need and all the other sizes disappear. Although honestly the Cameron button up was the same way. Oh, but it wasn't a projector file, to be fair. I think when I eventually make one for my friend Kyle, I'm gonna have it printed. Like I think I'm gonna pay FedEx or whatever to print it because it doesn't have a projector file. But also I don't want to print so many pages. But couldn't get it to work, so I printed the Sunnyside tank. It's only 19 pages, which is like, it's still a lot of pages, but it's not like, one time Shelly made a coat before she had a projector, and it was like 100 and something pages to tape together. So I can do that. I think I can cut that out fairly quickly, so I might do that this morning. The other pattern I was gonna cut out last night is the Petal Dress by Soft Body Studios. We had also already bought that pattern, bought it a few days ago, didn't immediately download it. Shelly has an external hard drive that's like just all of her sewing patterns because she's been sewing for many, many, many years. I sent Shelly, anytime I want a pattern that Shelly doesn't already have, I just like send her the money. But she is the one who buys it and downloads it to her external hard drive so that like together as a team, all of our sewing patterns are in one place. So we bought it the other day. We didn't immediately download it because it's like a different computer. Shelly was working, I was downstairs. The external hard drive is on our like family computer that's like by the sewing stuff. So I go to download it last night and the link was only good for 24 hours. Not that I think like they're not gonna give it to us, but I emailed them pretending to be Shelly because I was logged into Shelly's email. And I was like, hey, I like didn't download this within 24 hours. I didn't know it was only a 24-hour link, which I like went back to the order and it doesn't say, at least not that I saw, but you know, maybe I'm part of the literary crisis. So I was like, hey, like I would love to download this so that I could make it. And I did pay for it. So I'm not angry at them or anything. Also, Soft Body Studios is like I think it's just one person. It's very small. So I know today's Sunday. No, today's Saturday. But still, I really hope that they're like, oh yeah, here's a new link. And I can cut that out later today. But like I said, I'm only including actual construction in my timer. So I'm trying to decide if I should just start on, I have 2 things cut out already. Really, like 3. Because I also am in the middle of making some toddler tulip hats for my toddler's friends. So I think I'm going to, maybe I'll start with Felix's shirt, which I cut out. Because it'd be really cute if he could come back to a new shirt. And I did 2 buttonholes yesterday. So now I'm a master and I can put buttonholes in Felix's shirt. I probably will make them sew the buttons on though, because number 1, they are much better at hand sewing. I know you can sew buttons on with a machine. I'm not interested in that. They will like just whip them in really fast. And then also I want them to pick them out. Although I think they're probably gonna pick some of the fun flower buttons that I bought yesterday. Anyway, all of that to say, I think what I'm going to do first, here's the real question. First, I'm trying to decide if I wanna go buy coffee. And I shouldn't, but I need to drive to Michael's to get more thick elastic today anyway. And it's Saturday, not Sunday, and Chubby Bean is open. And you guys know I have a Chubby Bean addiction. Oh, by the way, checking in with other stuff that happened last night. After I finished my video, I cleaned our room. I know we just did decluttering. It wasn't like super messy. It was just like there was clothes that needed to be folded, and Felix had a bunch of clothes that they needed to be hung up. Felix was like, I don't want to do it, it's going to take so long. To be fair, they were right. I think it was like 30, 40 minutes of hanging stuff up. And I was like, it's driving me bananas that they're still on the floor. I'll just hang them up, and then they're up, and then when Felix does the decluttering, like, then they're all in one place. And like for filming purposes, it'll be much easier to film if they're all hung up. So I hung those up, vacuumed our room, made the bed. Oh my God, it was amazing. Oh, we haven't had a TV in our bedroom since we moved to Oregon. No, we had one in our apartment once we moved our bed from the bedroom into the living room. So since like 2021, we've not had a TV in our bedroom. We did, however, sometimes watch like Summer House, or for a little bit we were rewatching Breaking Bad before we got into Vanderpump and then Summer House on my iPad. I have a old iPad, like, I don't even know, maybe like 4th generation. And I think they're on like 11th or something. It still does my thumb for it. And I love it so much. It's Shelly's old iPad. Felix bought it off of her when she was upgrading hers like 4 years ago. And when they bought it, I was like, I don't know, I kind of want the newest one so that like if I buy the newest one, then like it's good for longer. Does that make sense? And I was wrong. Because it turns out what I use an iPad for mostly is like a very mobile, tiny TV to watch sewing tutorials, my favorite vloggers while I'm like doing something, or before we had a kiddo, like we would use it to watch stuff in like a hotel if we were traveling or whatever. So anyway, all that to say, obviously I'm like for old tech. Our TV that we just bought I think is from like 2009 because it does have HDMI, but it also still has I think it's ATV, the like red, yellow, white connections, which is amazing. It's exactly what I wanted anyway. So that we can hopefully thrift another VHS/DVD player to put in our room as well. Sorry, so very long tangent. I ended up staying up till 1, just like cleaning a little bit and then just like enjoying like being alone, watching TV. It was so reminiscent of when Felix and I were long distance and I was living in my apartment in Orlando. And while I had lived with a roommate in Mobile, and I lived with roommates in Orlando, my bedroom in Orlando was on like the opposite side of the apartment. So it was like my bedroom, my bathroom, all of the living room and kitchen, and then my roommates. Not that they were loud or anything, and hopefully not that I was loud. And last night, like it was totally fine that I was vacuuming at 12:30. You know? Anyway, I fear that I will now be spoiled for every birthday, Christmas, anything coming up, because I'm gonna be like, what I want is a weekend alone. And I feel like many moms say that, but I want a weekend alone here at my house. Which is actually the most expensive gift. I would have to ask Felix to take our toddler somewhere else. I hope they're having fun. They don't have very good service, so I haven't heard from them a lot, but they've been checking in. So anyway, this has been a super long intro to today. Basically what I'm getting at is maybe we'll take a break in the middle of the day to go get coffee and lunch. I'm debating making hot coffee now, and maybe I'll have second coffee then. But first I'm gonna cut out the Sunnyside tank, cut out the fabric for that. And then I think I'm not gonna cut out the petal dress, even if they send it, till the very, very, very end if we have time. Because I don't wanna waste precious time cutting out a bunch of stuff. Because I have Felix's shirt, my second pair of lane pants, Sunnyside tank, and 3 toddler hats. And it took me 4 hours to do the lane pants yesterday. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, it's an hour and a half later and I cut out my pattern and I cut out my pieces, but this is the bias tape I'm gonna use. As I said before, I hate making my own. If I had to, I would have, but this, like, here's what I do, and there's probably a science to this, but I just unfold the bias tape, I hold it up to the pattern piece. If it's the right size, then I'm just using this. If I need to iron it differently, I can do that, that's not a big deal. But anyway, I think it'll be cute. You're not gonna see the bias tape, it's just gonna be like under the arm, so you might see when I turn. Also, I was gonna say this, I'm between sizes 3X and 4X. I do like stuff tighter, but this fabric doesn't have a ton of stretch, so I went with the 4X, and if I need to like put, like kind of sew up the sides a little more because I want it a little bit tighter, I can do that. It is only 4 pattern pieces and the bias tape. So if it goes well, I foresee myself making many of them, hopefully. But if it doesn't go well, that's fine. It is 10 right now. I decided to go ahead and do my Michael's trip and my Chubby Bean trip. Tomorrow, since Chubby Bean will be closed, I will make coffee here, eat breakfast here, and then I can't do that for a while. Like I can't keep going out. But come on. I'm home alone, it's such a great weekend. I do think I'm gonna try and convince Felix to do this for their birthday in September because I'm having the best time. I am having so much fun. Now, I was frustrated to have to print out my pattern and cut it, but again, it was only 4 pieces and then the 2 bias pieces, so not that bad. Oh my God. I'm with you now, right? What? I'm just gonna do this a different way. What they're doing seems crazy. Okay, we're 7.5 hours in. I have most of Felix's shirt. This is the first time that I was like, I don't really understand these instructions. And I have made this shirt before, to be fair. But I still don't really understand the way that they want you to put the sleeves in. So I was like, I'm just gonna do it the way that I know how to do sleeves, which it worked. And so yeah, we have mostly shirt. I still have to do the collar, the buttonholes, and then the hem. And then it'll be done. I'm very nervous about the collar. I did just realize that the house is like totally empty right now. And I can just sing as loud as I want to. And can you hear the echo? It's like really fun. I'm having so much fun. This is just the best. Yeah, I'm really proud of this so far. It is like just so many steps. So I am glad that I decided to start with this one today because it'll be like a reward when I can make my Sunnyside tank and then my lane pants after this. But yeah, very, very excited. Oh, my aching Do you guys like my model? He's a little stiff, but this is the only way I can ever do anything, by the way. I have to like put it on, which is hard when I'm making something for Felix because I wear a much bigger size than Felix does. But you see, okay, I'm already confused. So she said, put it on, like hold it up, right? Like this is how it will go on. Then flip it inside. That's making sense. I should have brought a stitch or a thing over here. All right, what's next?
And then look, this is my uninterfaced edge of the collar stand.
Right.
And we're gonna lay this center back notch.
Is that what I did? Oh, center, center. Here we go, here we go, here we go. And she's pinning it from the inside. Good. Good to know. Good. About 8.5 hours in, I've got the tag. I've got the collar. Look at that. This is better than the last one I did. Oh, I have some strings to cut. So all I have left is hemming and buttonholes. So this is just about done. I'll show you when it's fully done and then we'll move on to the next. 2 things. Number 1, I realized I actually can't do the buttonholes because Felix hasn't picked buttons. And I wouldn't be surprised if they picked incredibly strange giant buttons. So actually after I hem this, we're done, which is great because I'm very excited to make my 2-piece. Second thing that I want to mention, I don't think it's possible to hem a curved hem. I don't know how other people are doing it. This time I did for those who are curious, this time I did a little stitch on the bottom of like the raw edge because people say that helps. I don't know if it's helping very much. I mean, maybe. This is looking more curved than the last time I made this shirt, so maybe it's doing something. I don't know about that. And I'm asking why, Lord, if this is how I die, Lord. Time eats all his children in the end. We are at 9 hours, 7 minutes. And I've just finished Felix's shirt. As I said, I actually can't do the buttonholes right now, but the hem, I mean, it's curved, you know what I mean? It could be better, but I put in the tag correctly and at the right time and didn't have to weirdly add it in last minute. Very, very proud of this. Do I want to? I think the Sunnyside tank, knock on wood, I think it's gonna come together fairly quickly. So I think I'm gonna start with that, even though it's the one I've not done before. I also am realizing, so Felix and the baby will be here in like, they're gonna be here tomorrow. And if I had to guess, they're gonna be here at like 12 or 1. So I don't even know if we're gonna get a full 24 hours of sewing in because we're only at 9 hours right now. But I think we see how many we do. And maybe Felix will let me work this week to get up to 24 hours and we'll continue the challenge from there. Or we'll just end it with however many hours I have. You know, either's fine. Cool. Yeah, very excited. It's about 6 o'clock right now. I had like so much lunch and then also many snacks. So I'm not dinner hungry yet, but right now I'm just like so jazzed. I'm so excited and I'm having so much fun singing and sewing. This is like, I am just having the best time. It will always take my calls. It's truly as he told you. Without a little lift, the ballerina falls. And you are paranoid in every paragraph, how they perceive you. Let future historians wonder how Eliza reacted when you broke her heart. Maybe she's what you prefer, but hey, last year I was her. Maybe you will change your mind, but you might look up to find. We're at a try on. So this is where we're at. It's more than I want. I do like how flary it is out though. So I think what I'm gonna do is kind of essentially, I have this problem where I don't like my bra to show and other people I think don't have this problem. So anyway, I think I'm gonna pin this part closed, but as if it was like a dart almost, like an upside down dart, so that this part still stayed out. Does that make sense? I'm gonna pin that and see how it looks. If I like it, I'll sew it.
5 minutes later.
Okay. Actually, I'm a genius. This fixed it perfectly in my opinion. There's like the tiniest bit of gaping right here, which if I decide later that is pissing me off, I feel confident I can put in like teeny tiny darts. But I basically just made, let me show you the bottom part, I guess. I basically just made teeny tiny darts. I'm gonna like draw them with a ruler. And then oh my God, I love this. Here's the thing. I was like, oh, maybe I'll just do the 3X next time. But I kind of love how big the bottom is. So is it like so insane to keep my 4X pattern and then just mark what I did here? You know? Because I could not cut it. I could like draw a line and I could just fold it when I'm cutting it for me. Yeah. Here's the thing. This is going to cause a problem with the rest of the pattern though. Not this part. The neck will be the same. The armhole binding is going to be different. Although now that I'm saying that, I've done armhole binding a lot with the Sydney Graham pattern. So actually, knock on wood, I'm not that nervous about it. Okay, let's sew it and serge it. And then all I have to do is the binding. So easy. Yeah, I'm gonna make 5,000 of these. So prepare to be sick of me. Please understand that it's still strange and frightening for losers like I've been. It's so hard to stay silently see more. He purified me up and be scared of the life that's inside her, getting stronger each day till it finally reminds her to fight just a little, to bring back the fire in her eyes that's been gone but used to be mine. You know, just when I am feeling confident, this hobby really has a way of humbling you, because I'm on my last arm binding. I still have to do the weird front-facing hem on the bottom, which I've never done. But I mean, like, I can read, and if I need to Google a YouTube video, I can. And I was like, man, I just kept being like, I'm almost done. And then I like binded the neck first, and it came out like really, I don't know, like kind of wobbly. And I've like binded like this several times. And so I was like, I do know like how to do it. It's never looked like this. And I was like, maybe it's the fabric I chose. And now that I'm on the last one, I used some of the vintage bias tape that I just got yesterday. But the one that I used wasn't still in its packaging. Like it was just like loose. And I'm thinking, based on the lack of stretch that it has, that it isn't bias tape. Maybe it's just binding. Which the difference is like bias tape is cut at like a 45-degree angle. And so like it has a little bit of stretch to it, which is great when you're using it for something like an armhole or a neck hole, which is like circular. And this, and it's not horrible. Like I'm not, if it really bothered me, I could go back and unpick it and like, but I don't think it's gonna bother me at all, because it's like, whatever. Like, this is a dark-ish colored fabric. I don't think you're gonna be able to see it that much. And I was already making kind of like weird alterations to the top anyway. I'm debating not doing the front-facing, back-facing hem thing. I think what I'll do is I'll watch a YouTube video and decide from there. Because I could just serge the bottom, fold it up once, hem it, and be done with this shirt. And that is sounding like really tempting right now. It is 9 o'clock. We're 11 hours, 53 minutes in, which is a long time. I do think though, I'm assuming as soon as Felix gets home tomorrow, I'm gonna have the baby and they can like have some rest time, because I'm sure they have not really slept the whole time that they were camping. Yeah, I've just kind of done something insane with this. Yeah, I'm excited to start on my lane pants. My dream was to sew until midnight, but I didn't sleep good last night. So I don't know. I am trying to not like I'm not trying to like push myself. I'm not getting any awards for doing this. You know, the purpose of it is to have fun. It's times like these where I really wish, have you guys seen those like teeny tiny irons? They're like iron on a stick. Teeny tiny iron on a stick. And I think it's for people who do like teeny tiny applique. So honestly, we should probably buy one anyway for Felix. But when I'm doing binding, I'm like, I wish I had teeny tiny iron. It's so bananas how much longer it takes me to do something than I think it will. Which is fine. Like, you know, again, I'm not winning any sort of award. I am just doing this for fun. I am afraid now that it's dark that someone will like call the police if I sing as loud as I've been singing. but it has been like, I could cry thinking about it. Because even when I sing in the garage sometimes, which is like incredibly rare anyway, people are still home, you know? Also, like, people are walking on the street, and I'm not trying to, like, I don't know, like, it's for me, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's been a really great day. I'm so excited for Felix and the baby to be home tomorrow, though, even if I don't get everything done on my to-do list. Oh, I did get the pedal dress. I downloaded it. I have not printed it out or tried to do the projector again. It just seems like I'm just gonna have Shelly help me, because clearly there's like a part of the instructions of like how to do it that I missed. Because it's the same thing with the pedal dress where like I open it as like a regular file, and it's like I can't figure out how to have it be the right size on the projector. I'm gonna sew up this armhole binding. Here's the problem, the hem is really cute in the picture. That's like, it is part of the reason why I chose this tank. I think I'm just gonna serge and do a teeny tiny baby hem on this. And later, after consulting with Shelly maybe, or someone else, I might add in the hem, the like fancy hem. I think that's my plan. So that I can move on to the pants, but this will be like incredibly wearable. Because I think it'll still be cute. Okay, I'll see you when it's done. So, yeah, it's a little wonky, but honestly, I don't hate it. I love, 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 love the shape. Yeah, we'll see if this bothers me. If it does, I don't know, maybe I'll put like rickrack or something on it. Or maybe I'll put like trying my best across the front. But yeah, let me show you the hem. Yeah, I feel like it's so cute. I think also something that's really nice about most of the things that I'm making, just because I don't sew a lot of like tighter clothes. Like I want them to be not super oversized, but tight, like somewhere in between. Anyway, when I eventually next year get pregnant with our second, there will be like plenty of room in this top, which is great. And then my lane pants are also the same way because they are like very stretchy and they have a drawstring. So very exciting. We are at 12 hours and 40 minutes. I actually am heating up my 9 p.m. dinner. I will check in with you after I do that, and we're gonna start on the lane pants that I'm making to match this top. It's 11:05. Since I didn't sleep well last night, Felix and the baby will be back tomorrow night. I'm calling it a day now, so I can go to sleep early-ish. 11:30-ish, and hopefully wake up early and get more done. We'll see. But I've got the very, very beginnings. I've got 2 front panels of lane pants. I know the lighting must be so terrible right now, but I just want to document like, this has been so nice. And I did cry earlier, missing my kid and missing Felix so much. But I used to always say that I just like never needed alone time. Like I always wanted to be with someone. And to be fair, we have a friend that is like staying, like living with us right now, and they are still here. So I haven't been like totally alone. But I feel like this has been, I'll do like a bigger talk in the outro, but like I just like, I love I love snuggling in bed with Felix. I love snuggling with our toddler. Do not get me wrong. But like I'm laying in bed just like watching my YouTube videos. You know what? I bet I'm also in a really good mood because I was like sewing all day. So I've not had any scrolling time at all. And now that I'm in bed, I'm like, well, I don't want to scroll. It's just gonna piss me off, you know? Anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good morning, kings, queens, and automobiles. I slept so much better. I still woke up a few times being like, where's my husband, where's my child? But better. Sorry, I'm sure you can hear the dishwasher and the regular washer going. I forgot to wash those clothes that I bought on Friday. Not clothes, fabric that I bought on Friday. And I was like, if I just run it up here while I'm standing here, then I won't forget about putting it in the dryer and then taking it out as soon as it's done in the dryer. which is the easiest way to hope your fabric doesn't wrinkle too much as you're like storing it. Anyway, woke up at 7 so I could do our dishes downstairs and run a load of dishes up here. I have made my coffee, made hot coffee. It's in the freezer, cooling down right now. We have about 2 hours until I have to leave to go pick up Bo. I'm hoping in that time I can finish most of these lane pants. Probably not all of them, but most of them. It is to be seen.
At last the roof goes on, and nothing can go wrong. Oh no, it all went wrong!
I've done something I've never done before, which is I made 2 left pant legs. Because there's no front and back to this fabric. Which is so funny. So I think I basically have to unpick everything. Which is not my favorite thing that's ever happened. But that's okay. That's okay. I will make it work.
1 hour later.
Okay, an hour later, and now I'm right back where I was. It actually was so annoying to fix. Not because I didn't know what I was doing, because I've obviously made this a couple times, which is funny because I've never made this mistake, but I've also never made these pants with fabric that was the same, like it didn't have a wrong side. Yeah, the problem I kept having was I have a hard time picturing when things need to be like flipped inside out, especially twice, which the pocket bags, you're doing a French seam. If you don't know what that is, all that you need to know is you have to flip it inside out twice, basically. So I kept having an issue where I didn't know which way I needed to set it in for it to end up being the right pant leg. So what I ended up doing is I switched my machine to a basting stitch. So that was like very loose and easy to pick. And so I had to sew it and then unpick it a couple times. But we got there eventually. So now I'm gonna sew up these crotches and then I have to go get Bo, I think, so. Okay, I haven't been filming much of this because I had some sort of bobbin problem, okay? And so I spent like 30 minutes doing bobbin surgery. Anyway, I hate making a drawstring, we all know this, but I have some vintage bias tape that I can use as a drawstring, except it's ever so slightly too short. So I'm gonna do bias tape surgery. The drawstring stays in my pants, okay? So what I'm thinking is I'm gonna cut what I have in half, essentially add like a foot of a different colored bias tape between it, then sew them all back together so that the ones that are blue that match perfectly will be like what you see on the outside, and secretly on the inside back of my pants there will be bias tape that doesn't match. But I think that'll be fine. That's my creative solution because I'm too lazy to cut and make my own drawstring. I won't do it and you can't make me. I got my 2 little ruffles that I have to attach to my pants, and then once I do that we'll be done. Well, it's not quite that simple. I have to put the gathering stitches in, gather them, then attach them to the pants, then serge them. Then the pants will be done. So it's not that bad. Okay, we're at 19 hours and 7 minutes, and late last night I finished my pants. I'm gonna scooch you back so you can see them. I didn't want to put on my shirt just yet. I don't want you to get the full effect of the reveal, but I feel like they turned out really cute. My only fear is putting them all together. I'm worried it'll look too much like pajamas. But here's the thing, if people think that I'm in pajamas out in the world, that doesn't seem like it's my problem. I'm hoping it'll be like obvious that it's not, you know, based on like the fact that I feel like you can tell it's like nice quality fabric, hopefully. I do have a problem, which is that I love the feel of this fabric so much. It feels so nice. And like I try to do a mix of thrifting sheets and also buying nice fabric. I know there's a lot of material in the world where you can absolutely be a sewist who only uses thrifted materials. I do also feel like making plus size garments in particular, you need like very large amounts of fabrics. And if you're only using bed sheets, at a certain point, there's like only beige and green bed sheets. And you can dye them for sure. There's lots of options, but I don't feel bad for buying nice fabric, you know, every now and then. Especially since it's like part of my job to make videos and stuff. I love them so much. I wish they were ever so slightly less wide, which if I really feel that way, I could definitely taper the legs a bit. Still can't believe I made 2 left pant legs at first, but it is a mistake I don't intend to make again. I think the next time I am making anything that has like no front and no back, I'm just gonna use masking tape to label what I'm like calling the back of any garment, any part of the garment that goes to a specific side. The only other things that I've cut out is to finish these toddler hats, which if I'm being honest, I'm not excited to make. But once I make them, I'm gonna be like so glad to give them to my toddler's friends. And then I also need to put the buttonholes in Felix's shirt. He did pick out buttons. So I'm gonna do that first. Then we're gonna work on these toddler hats. That might get us through the end of the 24 hours. If it doesn't, depending on the time, I might start another sit-tie dress. We'll see. I don't know, the world is our oyster. We'll see. Let's put these buttonholes in though.
Several long days later.
All right, it's been about a week since we saw each other. A couple of things have happened. Number one, I made the mistake of not cleaning up after I was done. And so I'd like to publicly apologize to Shelly, even though I privately apologized to her, because she couldn't find any of her stuff. And I feel like, I mean, you guys saw in the birthday week video, I feel like I normally clean up when I'm done. But I feel so bad because I was just like, the last time I sewed was when Felix and the baby were getting home from camping and I was so excited to see them, and then I just never came back over here. So, sorry about that. First things first in our challenge, I'm gonna try and finish these 3 tulip hats that I started for my kiddos' friends. I started them before I started the sewing challenge, but I feel I should finish them. I really try to not be in the middle of like a bunch of different projects. When I eventually do take up knitting, based on all the knitting folks I'm now watching, it sounds like maybe that's just what I'll be doing because they all seem to have a bunch of works in progress, but I try to not have more than like 5 that I've like either cut out and not actually sewn or whatever. Anyway, after that, we have about 4 hours left. After I finish those hats, I'm gonna work on my friend's quilt. Baby's already dropped. They are expecting them to come probably a little bit early. So I need to get working on this quilt because I thought I still had like, I don't know, 2 months. And now it's like maybe I only have a month. And I don't think it'll, like if I focus on it, I don't think it'll take me a month to finish this quilt since I've halfway made the top already, and that's the hard part. So, well, that's the most time consuming part. I wouldn't say it's the hardest part. Anyway, so I'm hoping by the end of this challenge, maybe I can finish the top, or at least finish all the blocks. And then all you have to do after you finish the blocks is put the blocks together and then quilt them. So let's go. Right now we are at 19 hours, 43 minutes. So yeah, we've got about 4 hours left. I am excited, very excited. And this time we're gonna clean up, okay? We are checking in at 22 hours, 48 minutes. I had big plans to get to working on the quilt today, and I don't think it's gonna happen. That's okay. I do have the base of 3 tulip hats done. This one, the last one, I don't know. So here's what happened. This is like the thinnest material that I had to work with to make hats. So it is interfaced to try and make it a little bit thicker, which, I mean, all of them are. But all of the turning points, like I thought I clipped this point enough that it would be fine and it would turn out okay. But I don't think I did. And then it's like so much of the inside is just like, it's just like much more wrinkly. And actually, I don't even think it's that much more wrinkly than the other ones. It's that since this one is like a solid color, I feel like you can see the mistakes a lot more versus like the ones that have prints. The print kind of like hides the mistakes. So I'm not gonna remake it because it's for a toddler, and I hope that the mom knows that it was still made with lots of love. But I'm not super proud of this one. But I am giving it what I think is the cutest leaves. So maybe that'll make up for it. If she doesn't want to be my friend after this, you know, I'll understand. It's about 1. So I am actually going to take a little lunch break and I will check back in with you as we cut up the leaves and hopefully finish up these hats in the last hour and 15 minutes. We might go a little bit over actually, but I want to finish them, so.
200 whoopsies later.
Wow, that took so much longer than I thought it would. Very, very bold of me to say, oh, I'll work on the quilt when I'm done. I went ahead and finished the hats because I want to be done with them. In an exciting way. Like, I'm excited to give them away to the people they were made for. But because of that, we clocked in a little over 2 hours longer than 24 hours. Whatever. It's also, if I hadn't made as many mistakes as I did in this 24 hours, I feel it would have clocked in at 24 anyway, because I made many mistakes. And that's just part of the process. So, hat final reveal. Blueberry baby. Not really, like blueberry-ish. Bluish, dark greenish. I feel these look cutest when one is a pattern and one is a solid. Although my baby's is 2 solids, so. This is my favorite one, I think. But this is the one I thought about making for myself. I do have enough to make one for myself like this, just barely. But all right, let's do final thoughts, final results. Okay, I am really, really proud of this. Altogether, I got a full 2-piece set done, a pair of pants for me, a shirt for Felix, and 3 toddler hats done in 26 hours, 17 minutes. So, that's actually really good. Obviously, I did go over my 24-hour limit, but I really wanted to finish those hats. Something about those hats in particular, they always take longer than I think they will. And I do think that they're worth it. Like, I didn't want to rush through the stems, which is what I feel takes the longest, which is a whole nother thing I won't get into, but it's the part that I've done differently every time because I'm trying to figure out what I personally like best. But, you know, that's just personal preference. Anyway, all in all, 26 hours, 17 minutes, over like a week, basically. Something that I really want to drive home is that I am still very much a beginner sewist. I only have made patterns that are like beginner to confident beginner. I'm not doing anything like so totally hard. Even if it kind of maybe looks like that if you've never made anything. And then also if you're very experienced, I'm sure that you know that there are like many mistakes that I've made that you've made in the past. I think something that I wish I had maybe believed or listened to when it came to sewing garments or just like sewing as a hobby in general was every single person who has every single skill used to not know how to do it. They did. Obviously, when it comes to things like singing or like artistry or other things, like people are born with like a natural talent sometimes, but like you're not born knowing music theory. You're not born knowing how to sew. You're not born knowing carpentry. But anything, literally anything that you want to learn how to do, you can learn how to do it, especially like a hobby. You might have to learn it very slowly, but you can do it. Like every person who knows how to do anything used to not know how to do it. And I think that's something that you forget. You just forget. Cause like I would watch Carly B or Sydney Graham or like any of these other like folks that I watch. I'm always like, man, I wish I could do that. And it's like, I could've. I am now. I will only get better the more things that I make. And so can you. Like, so can you. You can do it. I promise. I promise you can do it. A lot of folks have like messaged me and said, I really want you to do like a how to sew playlist on YouTube. And I do not feel, I've never been a good like teacher. Ask anyone I went to school with. Like, I am not a good teacher. I think that I could learn to be a better teacher, but it's not something I had a passion for. But Sydney Graham, who I talk about all the time, has an entire playlist like teaching a lot of basic stuff, a lot of stuff that I learned just watching these videos. They are incredibly helpful. If you don't know where to start there. Or like go to the library, read a book. You know, like there's so many resources out there and you just have to utilize them. I do think that I could have come in right at 24 hours had I made no mistakes, but that's not part of the journey. That's not how it works. And that's okay. And that's the thing about sewing or video games or any of my hobbies, as I've like really gotten back into prioritizing hobbies now that I'm 2 years postpartum and like really in like a nice groove, like hormones and like time away from my baby wise, is like the hobbies are only fun if you're having fun. I actually do a really good job with this when it comes to playing video games. If I'm not having fun anymore, I'll stop playing. I don't have like a drive to finish it, but I'm the opposite with books. I have a really bad habit of like pushing through a book I'm having a horrible time in. And it's like, for what? Then what happens is I end up not reading because I'm like, this book isn't good. And it's like, I'm really trying to teach myself like, okay, just move on to the next book. It's fine. Like there's no rules about it, you know? It's the same with sewing. This is probably the first like sewing session where I truly feel like I had fun from like beginning to ending. Even when I was making mistakes and I was like, what's happening? I was never feeling like, like frustrated at myself or at the machine. Well, I take that back. When the bobbin was being weird, I was frustrated at the machine for a bit, but I was still mostly having fun. Yeah, it was so nice to just like be enjoying myself the whole time. I was just like giggly the whole time. It was so fun making these things. I actually think my favorite thing that I made in this video is probably Felix's shirt, even though Felix has not sewn on the buttons, so he couldn't model it for you. I'm also really, really proud of the tulip hats. They each have imperfections, and that is just the nature of a handmade gift. I want to say hi and thank you to all of our new subscribers. We've gotten, I think, like 200 or 300 new subscribers here on YouTube since the decluttering video came out a few weeks ago. So hi, if you're new, I would love for you to comment and say hello. You don't have to though if you're shy. I totally respect that. Totally get that. But I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome. I am really proud of how this channel has grown. I'm really proud of the videos that we make, and I am so happy to be in a community with all of you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. If you're one of our patrons, especially thank you. If you're thinking of becoming a patron, we would love to have you over there. That is my favorite place to connect with Sweet Peas. It's where I post sewing projects the minute that they're done. It is where we go to talk about some behind the scenes stuff every couple weeks, you know? We'd love to have you over there. You can join for as little as $1 a month. But if you pay $8 a month or more, you get things like these YouTube videos without ads. And you get to feel really cool about supporting a small business, and the small business is me not shutting up. Also, oh my god, thank you to Kelly, Sweet Pea, who sent me a Sarah Hearts gift card. I actually also ordered stuff with that, and I'll do a haul whenever I get that in. This has been possibly my favorite video to film that I've ever made. I had just like such an absolute stinking blast. I anticipate that we'll get to do another one of these, especially if the video does well, but even if it doesn't, like, I had so much fun. I had so much fun. It's like so true what they say about taking time to yourself, and how when you take time to yourself to just like do things that you're excited about, you will be even more excited to get back to the things that you have to do. You know what I mean?
Have you ever had a dream that you'll do
like productive rest? I mean, there wasn't much rest happening in this video, but it was productive brain off, or brain differently tasked. You know what I mean? The world is so scary. So scary sometimes. But you are so lovely, and I am so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Okay, goodbye. So, So much of this like lavendery cover. But she is the one who buys it and downloads it. She is the one, because I would have to ask Felix and, oh my, I almost said his name. I would have to ask. All right. Oh, did I start my timer? Nope. That's gonna fray, huh? Did you need something, Arwen? What do you need? I gave you your food, right? I gave it to you. I seen you have it. You've had it. I know you did. Did you need more? Because I don't think you do. He's Whiteley. This one. He's crazy. Get him in there. Yeah. I love the shape. That was my foot, not my butt. I have some vintage beige tape. Something that I really I can't believe I used to ever think I was ugly. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Sorry, that's my neighbors. They're doing yard work.